Welcome into the Sources Say podcast, your go-to Kentucky basketball podcast on the KSR Podcast Network, presented by our friends at LG&E and KU. I am your host, Jack Pilgrim of Kentucky Sports Radio. Very excited to be joined once again by Spencer Smith. Sean is out tonight. He's full season basketball mode with Frederick Douglass, so we're bringing in the got your arm loose, got a relief pitcher in with Spencer Smith coming in. So Spencer, how are you doing on this fine whatever days are all running together? With Wednesday evening? How you doing?
It's a Wednesday night. It's not a fine Wednesday though. Today's been tough. Bit of a somber day for me, but I'm getting through. Jack, how are you?
Horrible. Absolutely. Actually, that's a lie, because we're gonna feed. We got some football stuff to talk about, and optimism is so high right now in Lexington on the football side of things. I was actually in Lexington, hanging out with Will Stein for his introductory press conference today. That was actually a lot of fun. The juice is very much where it needs to be on the football side of things, with National Signing Day and portal coming up here in a couple weeks. So at least have something to kind of distract us in a time of need for the BBN on the basketball side of things, because that's not very much fun. So very loosely, you have any thoughts on Will Stein and the transition from Stoops?
I love it. Only because it seems like it's a totally new, fresh take on the program, right? Like we're going from Stoops, who was a defensive guy. He's known as one of the better defensive coordinators at the time when we hired him at Florida State. Kind of a little bit of an older guy, right? Kind of a little bit more of an old school type of coach. And Will Stein is kind of the opposite of all that. He's an offensive mind. He's really young. He's fresh. He kind of came up in this whole NIL era a little bit, right? So I think he's got slightly different takes on that whole part of it. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like when I was at Oklahoma, we hired Lincoln Riley as our offensive coordinator, and he eventually became the head coach, but kind of a similar path, like kind of ascended really, really quickly as a young offensive-minded guy. So I'm pumped. I think Will Stein's going to be a great fit. Kentucky native, right? Grew up a big Cats fan. Like, you can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, it's just cool. It's a shot in the arm for a fan base that just, loved, adored Mark Stoops and everything that he brought to the table. He was my hero. I mean, I grew up, I turned into like Mr. Debbie Downer on the football side of things for a long time, because, I just kind of saw the rise, the ascension into just like something that we've never seen before on the football side. I went to school at UK from 15 to 19, so I saw kind of like, the rise from 5 wins to getting to 7, getting to 9, and then winning the 10th for the first one, and 18. Like I remember crying when Benny Snell scored, got the all-time record at the Citrus Bowl. Like I just, all of that. So the downfall of it and seeing the program kind of become something that it was missing at its peak was just very, very disappointing and deflating. And I just kind of got to a point where I was like, hey, we're not going to be able to recreate the magic that was 2018, 2021 anymore. We need innovation. We need somebody that is going to be forward thinking and, concentrated on the future and NIL and all those things. And hey, that's where Will Stein comes in. So a lot of fun hanging out with him today in Lexington. It was not fun hanging out in Lexington yesterday, unfortunately, Spencer, because Kentucky just stinks right now. It is not a very good product, not a very fun product. And 67-64 loss that included a 10-minute and 25-second scoring drought in the second half, something that I don't think I've ever seen with my eyes and my experience in basketball. Have you ever seen something like that?
No, I think they mentioned, or I saw somewhere, it was the first time in 8 years, something for the Cats. I don't remember a stretch ever like that in my lifetime that the Cats have gone on. It was brutal. It was a brutal offensive stretch. I mean, we were airballing layups. We were clanking things off the backboard, airballing open jumpers. That was tough. I tweeted at the time to my very low number of Twitter followers. I tweeted at the time, I said, that's going to be maybe a stretch that cost us. Cause like we were playing great defensively at the time. We just weren't able to build on that lead. That's a period of the game where we should have been able to take it from 4 to 6 to 9 to 12, and like really develop a cushion. And we weren't able to do that. And it came back to bite us, which was brutal.
So just, I guess from the beginning, we viewed this game in particular as a December 2nd must win. It's stupid because there's no such thing as a December 2nd must win, but if there ever was a December 2nd must win coming off two pretty embarrassing losses, how they unfolded against Louisville, knowing the stakes behind that, Michigan State knowing the stakes behind that. This one was kind of all right, if you can't get this third one, then you really start to wonder about the long-term big picture. Like, what is this team? Like, does this team have the juice to be the legitimate number one seed Final Four kind of contending team that we thought that they were going into the year? Now, that's not to say that they can't be successful long-term, whether they hit a loss on Tuesday night, whether they lose on Friday night, and the rest of the non-conference schedule. They can get there, the long journey, but can they truly be a start-to-finish dominant team that we maybe thought they were? And that was kind of where the must-win kind of came from. If we wanted them to be truly one of the great teams in college basketball, you had to get that one. You had to get back on the right track, and they failed. They were not able to do that. So what did go wrong as things unfolded? A 31-31 halftime tie. It felt like it was okay. We like where things stand. Shots are just not falling for Kentucky. You start 0 of 8 from three. You're holding Caleb Wilson in check. You kind of think, okay, well, he's probably going to break out in the second half, but we're going to make shots in the second half. They're out rebounding us. We're going to wake up on the glass. So something is going to swing in the second half. And it never felt like there was a swing for either team. It just kind of felt like we were just in a stalemate the rest of the way. And it was just horrible. That second half product was just abysmal. So what did go wrong as things unfolded and to get us to that long extended scoring drought?
Yeah, it's funny. Like there was a lot to like about the game, but there was just kind of weird things that so I tweeted at halftime. I said that there were three big things in the first half that didn't go our way, right? We got bullied on the glass, which was not great. We weren't making shots. Like you said, we were 0 of 8 from the 3-point line in the first half. We were shooting 50% though from inside the arc, which was good. But what was interesting is we were having a lot of success inside the arc, but it also wasn't leading to free throws, right? So we were getting bullied on the glass, we were getting bullied from beyond the arc, and we weren't making shots, and we also weren't getting to the free throw line. So those three things are not a great sign. And then I tweeted, I was like, well, on the flip side though, you also made me feel good. All three of those things went against you, and yet you're still tied at halftime. That's not the worst thing in the world. But in my mind, I was like, we need two of those three things to probably flip in the second half for us to get the type of win that we probably want to get here, where it's somewhat comfortable, like an 8 or 10 point game. And only one of them did in the second half, right? Which is the free throws. We got to the line in the second half, which was great, but we continued to get bullied on the glass. Shots did not drop. I mean, who had a Brandon Garrison 3 being the only 3-point basket on our bingo card, right? If not for that, we would have gone 0 for 13. And the fact that we only got 13 threes, again, Pope went into the year saying our aim is still to get to 30. We're going to get to 30, 30, 30. We're in a home environment, on our own court. We can only get up 13, which is not, again, that's not what we want to do. It goes back to the identity of this team and how we're playing offensively is just completely lost in the sauce. And we saw the epitome of that during that 10-minute stretch where we had no answers offensively. We just didn't know what to do. Our offense was stand around, run a quick action here or there, and then Ortega or Aberdeen or somebody going into the lane and just trying to put it off the rim, right? Which sometimes isn't the worst offense in the world when you're the one bullying people on the glass. Like North Carolina did that a bunch. North Carolina was lost on offense too, just as much as we were at times. But the difference was that they were getting the ball up on the rim, which is what you want to do at the end of a possession like that. And then Wilson or Vassar, those guys were just bullying us and getting second chance looks. So again, just really, really disappointed. But I feel like a lot of our troubles just all kind of came to a head all at once there with the second half and our rebounding woes, our inability to make shots at this point, our inability to just have an identity offensively where we're like, hey, if we're stuck a little bit, if we've gone 2 or 3 minutes out of basket, we know what to do. We know where to go. All of that stuff just kind of compounded on each other and led to a very winnable game against a top 20 opponent slipping away in the final couple minutes.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot to like in things that you can build off of, but so many more ugly things and so many other question marks, and we'll get into all those here in just a second. But before that, a quick message from our friends at LG&E. They know that when the lights go out, it can be a full court press, but staying in the know is an easy win. You update your phone number in the LG&E and KU mobile app or in my account. If the power goes out, you'll get play-by-play text from 454-358 with outage updates, safety information, and time estimates for power restoration. Can't text, no problem. We'll call the landline on your account with the same update so you're never left in the dark, because in the dark, there's no defense. But with LG&E and KU, you've always got a team working to get the lights back on and let you know the game plan. Update your number today at lge-ku.com/outages. So you talked about it a little bit, but the defense, there was a lot to like about the defense, even in that long, just that setting the game back to 1960 stretch there in the second half. There was a lot to like on the defensive end. Loved how they covered Caleb Wilson and just the scout there. I thought it was a masterful game plan on Kentucky's side there to give yourself the best chance to win. It is a North Carolina team that is very, very tight. The rotation is super, super tight. They're very top heavy with Vassar, and Caleb Wilson's kind of that 1A, 1B monster when they're down Seth Trimble. There are a lot of ways to expose them outside of that top two. They were not able to limit them with Vassar. That kind of was what it was. But man, I loved what they did against Caleb Wilson and giving yourself just a legitimate chance there. And Andrea Jelovich on both ends being the Caleb Wilson stopper. We talked about it a little bit before the game that was going to, he was a guy that could give you a chance, and we can see what kind of juice he has on the big stage. And I thought he stood up in a really, really big way. Love what we saw from Andrea Jelovich. I am all in on him. I'm ready to push my chips in on him as kind of the future front court guy at the four for the Cats. I love that. Otega looked, we've been on here griping about Otega often on this show about him just not having that kind of it factor, having that that intention about his game that we're used to seeing and what made him an all-SEC player last year. We have not seen that, especially in either of the two big name matchups to start the year. Seeing a little bit of that kind of creep back in was very, very nice. He wasn't perfect, but I thought it was probably his best game of the season, at least all around, that we've seen. But outside of that, man, were there any other positives, anything that you can kind of take away and go, Pope said that we're finding ourselves a little bit after the game. What did that mean in your eyes if what didn't just come down to Otega and Andrea Jelovich and just, I guess, defense in general?
Yeah, I liked those two a lot. Loved what Moreno did. Moreno just continues to solidify himself as a lot better than Brandon Garrison, which I think a lot of us maybe thought that would happen. I didn't know if it would happen this early. I saw a lot that I love from Moreno, which was great. The defense, it was a lot of talking, a lot of communicating. We forced a lot of really tough shots. And you know what? I'm not as low on our defense in some of the other games as maybe some other people were. I thought we played actually decent defense for long stretches against Michigan State, stretches against Louisville. The difference in those two games, I think everybody can agree, Sparty hit tough shots. They just hit tough shots that were a little bit uncharacteristic, I thought, for them. So for me, but then when that happened, what happened was our effort started to then dwindle a little bit, right? Because it was we started to maybe feel bad for ourselves. Oh, they hit a couple tough looks and this and that, and all of a sudden it we let that impact our effort. I didn't see that last night. Our effort was pretty solid throughout. Really liked our defensive game plan. You're right on Caleb Wilson. Really, no matter who was guarding him, it was
Cam had good stretches on him as well.
Really good stretches. Cam was great on him. And we muscled him, we bodied him. Every time he squared up, he saw 2 or 3 white jerseys kind of looking at him and ready to help and in the gaps, which was really encouraging to see. I think that those are kind of the biggest takeaways for me. And I love seeing Otega get back to a little bit closer to what we remember from last year, because he was aggressive. He was in the gaps. He got a couple breakaway steals. He was really good. We saw a little bit of a step back from some other guys, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but I think those are the biggest takeaways for me: Jelovich, Moreno, and seeing Otega get back to it, and the defensive effort.
And then the flip side, you have you just getting crushed on the glass, especially on the offensive glass, giving up 20, only 8 assists to 9 turnovers, shot selection abysmal, ball movement abysmal. We got back into the hero ball, ISO, everybody kind of every man for themselves, not playing off each other, not cutting, no off-ball stuff, just kind of it felt like a John Calipari offense without the John Calipari talent at its core. It looked like a dribble drive without the NBA superstars that made it go. It just looked like a bunch of role player kind of G League level talent guys trying to run a dribble drive. It's like that's a pretty horrific product that is not going to win you very many games, no matter what the competition looks like. So, what did go wrong? Everything else, all the other negatives, the very few positives that we did get to talk about, all of the other negatives that turned it into a third consecutive loss against a team with a pulse.
So let's talk offensively first, just kind of overall. Like, in my opinion, that 10-minute stretch especially, we just didn't seem to know what to do necessarily. And a lot of the stuff that worked for us in the first half, it's like we didn't really ever revisit that, right? Like, we saw Yelovich, for instance, catch a couple post catches and was able to just kind of work his man down.
Right. Why? Yeah.
Like, we never went back to that. We never, at least from what I saw, I don't remember us ever going back to that. In the first half, especially, we had like a screen-to-screener play. I think it was Aberdeen that had it. Yelovich set the first screen, and then BG screened Yelovich's man so that he could so it was almost like a free throw line rip down to the block. Yelovich caught it, just worked his way down right over the left shoulder. Perfect. Looks great. I didn't see that in the second half. Like, it just really, really frustrating to not go back to the well on maybe what was working, or maybe after the first 4 or 5 minutes that we're not scoring, like, hey, why don't we revisit some of the stuff that worked in the first half? But even some of the stuff that, like, we did get good looks on. I remember one play in particular. It was like a baseline rip screen where we gave it to Ortega in the corner. And then I don't remember who set the screen. It might've been Cam. Set like a rip screen for Moreno to like come on the baseline side and to catch it on the block underneath. We've run it before. We run it. It's worked mostly on low majors, but he was wide open. This is during that 10-minute stretch. And Ortega just throws it about 2 feet too far to the right, and it goes out of bounds. It bounces off of Moreno's hand. It goes out of bounds. That's 2 points. Mm-hmm. That's 2 points that at the end of the game, when we're trailing by 1, would have really come in handy, right? So we even had some opportunities in that 10-minute stretch where we just didn't execute, which was really disappointing, especially on that where you've got a senior Ortega in the corner, perfect, like right in line for the pass, and he just missed it. You just can't do that. But again, to your point, we played a little bit of hero ball. We had guys taking some really questionable shots. Colin had a really nice move where he didn't know what he was doing, but he kind of pivoted around the lane, and he actually ended up winding up doing a step through, which is perfect. Wide open layup. Didn't even hit the rim.
Yeah. He
just smoked it. Just didn't even hit the rim. And then Moreno's in prime position for the rebound, and I don't think he came up with it, and so it's just stuff like that that's a little disheartening. It makes you feel like, man, we were so close. We were just like, if even 1 or 2 of those plays had gone our way, we'd probably come away with a win. But you just can't make that many mistakes against a pretty good athletic team like North Carolina and expect to come away, with a victory at the end. So I really liked some of the stuff that I saw in the first half, and it just seemed like we got away from a lot of that in the second half, and we didn't really, again, we lost our identity in that 10-minute stretch, and it really hurt us.
You never apologize for winning games, and had they, Colin converted at the very end, had just 1 or 2 plays gone the right way, and you win by 1 or even win by 2, whatever, would it have been would you have felt good coming out of that, just knowing like, hey, we needed to win, we got to win, and we survived and advanced? Or was there enough glaring issues across the board in the second half to make you go, hey, that was a little bit of fool's gold, that playing that way is not sustainable, knowing what we knew about the first 2 Louisville and Michigan State matchups going into Gonzaga on Friday especially?
It's a little bit of both. I would have felt great. I would have been over the moon. You know what I mean? I would have come on here with a big smile on my face, and I would have been happy. Because also the other thing too is, and like, it's not that we did not lose because of injuries, but like, I also think that a couple of the guys that were out could have maybe fixed some of that. Like, do we get that bullied on the glass if Mo Diabate is out there, right? Probably not. I don't think so, at least. Does our offense get that stagnant for 10 minutes if we have another playmaker on the court like Jalen Lowe? Like, probably not, right? So I would have come away happy. I would have been over the moon about it. I wouldn't have been too discouraged, only because I would have said, okay, like, we had to do what we had to do to get the win. Let's get healthy, and like, let's see what the team looks like at that point. You're like healthy and feeling good after a win. But then on the flip side, when you lose a game like that, it's like, there's just no excuses. You just, so it's hard, but yeah, I would have been happy if we had won that game.
Let's share a quick message. Actually, there's for those going down to Nashville, there is an Old Dominion Wildcats private concert that's being held for Mark Pope and the Cats down there Thursday, December 4th, to get you ready for the UK Gonzaga game. It's at Odie's in Midtown Nashville at 6 p.m. $650 a ticket. Good proceeds. It's well worth the the investment. It's going to be a really fun event, but it's, if you're heading down to Nashville, make sure you have your eyes peeled for that. We're going down Friday, so we're going to unfortunately miss that one, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you go buy tickets. I have it on the KSR link here in the description. So make sure you go scan and buy tickets there. I lost my train of thought on where I was going with the next one, but thinking big picture, Spencer, are you concerned at all about like the roster construction? Like, has it gotten to a point with you that like this stuff is fixable? There's enough to like about, even in the losses, there's enough to like there that this is a product that, even with three losses up to this point, that they can get it together, and probably sooner rather than later? Or has it gotten to a point with you that you're starting to have kind of foundational concerns about, the long-term seriousness of this team as a legitimate team?
It's just, I'm right on the fence with it. I really liked the roster construction going into the year, and I still like it in theory. On paper, I like it. The product itself that's come together in the last few weeks has not been the product that I think that this team is capable of putting on the court, right? But like, you can't have arguably your best shooter in Cam Williams shooting 24% from three on the year. You just can't do it, and he's a better shooter than that. Everybody on planet Earth knows that. He's a better shooter than that. So why isn't he shooting the ball better? I don't know, but he had 2 or 3 open looks last night that just, I think one of them he airballed. And if I'm misremembering that, I apologize to Cam,
he did.
I thought he airballed one, and it was a good look. He's a good shooter, guys, and he's shooting 24%. Like, we can't have that. I know that Aberdeen is more capable of finishing plays than what he's shown in the last 2 games, specifically 2 high major games, Michigan State and now North Carolina. He had good looks in the lane. He was snaking ball screens. He was getting to his spots. He was getting to where he wanted to go. He's rising up and shooting little floaters and stuff that we've seen him make for 3 years, and it's just not going in. Jasper, boy, we need Jasper. We need Jasper. We need Cam. We need that version of Yelovich every night. We need Jasper to come along. We need him to be able to make shots. We need him to be able to create. He was over dribbling last night. He was trying too hard to make something happen rather than like letting the game come to him. He was trying to, bring himself to the game, and, so he made a couple of really uncharacteristic plays, but we need him to stretch the floor and make shots and be a really creative playmaker, and not force it. We haven't seen that, so it's like, I know this team is capable of a lot more than the product it's putting on the court right now. But we need guys. It brings us back to our identity. We need guys to understand their role and their identity on this team. And when that happens, then the whole identity of the offense and defense really starts to come together, where guys get comfortable. When a guy like Cam Williams is missing shots like that, it's because he's not comfortable. You know what I mean? He's nervous. He's not comfortable in the flow. He doesn't feel like his feet are right. Whatever the case is, he's just not comfortable, and that's why he's missing those shots. And is it because he's not comfortable with who he is on this team at this point? So do I think it can all come together? Absolutely. Like, am I throwing this whole season in the garbage can? No. Like, absolutely. Like, let's get healthy. Let's get JQ on the court. Let's see Lowe for more than like 1.5 healthy, halves. And let's see what this team is made of. But in the meantime, we're giving up very, very good opportunities to build our resume and to put ourselves in a really good position to be able to make a run in March. And that hurts. That stings, so we really need to get healthy. But no, I'm not going to put it all in the roster construction, because I do think that this team is capable of a lot more than what it's putting on the court. But the product right now is not enough. It's not even close to what like the standard that we should have.
Does it surprise you at all that it doesn't appear that they had a firm backup plan for for Jalen, not necessarily in terms of a player, because I think that's clearly Denzel what his role is, but in terms of the system, Pope talked about it when Jalen went down initially. He said, "Hey, we're kind of having to hit reset on a lot of the stuff we did because we built basically everything around Jalen," and it kind of caught me off guard at the time. Like I can't believe that you would admit that publicly, that you didn't really kind of have a backup plan. And it does kind of feel like we are scrambling to throw something together in terms of an offensive identity that involves Denzel Aberdeen being your starting point guard.
Yeah, it's hard to say, obviously, because I'm not in practice and stuff. I think, Jalen Lowe's a talent. Like he's a good player. He was all ACC last year. He put up very, very good numbers. He was a super impactful player for what wasn't a great Pitt team, but he was a really impactful player. And he's definitely a difference maker on the court when he's healthy and ready to rock and roll. And Aberdeen is a guy, he's different. He's definitely a different type of player. And so it surprises me a little bit, but also, like when you have a guy like Lowe, who's such a playmaker and so much goes through him, just like, for instance, imagine if we had lost Amari. Thank goodness last year, Amari was one of the guys. I don't think Amari missed a game last year, right? He's one of the few guys on our team. Like, imagine if you had taken Amari out all of a sudden, for a stretch of 5 or 6 games. And not just Amari, you take Amari off the court, you take Butler off the court, and you take, one other starter, I don't know, Kobe Bray or something. Like, if you lose those 3 guys, all of a sudden, like, our ability to win those types of games that we won last year would have been severely impacted, and a guy like Lowe, a guy like JQ, a guy like Mo Diabate, 3 guys that were pretty confident are starters on this basketball team being out, like, it does change the way that you have to play. So I do think that that's definitely like weighing on the team on like, hey, we're a little bit stuck, in the mud here. We're not quite getting the flow in the offense that we want. So again, I really, really want to see this team healthy. I want to see them confident. I want to see them feeling like they're in good shape. But yeah, like it also goes back to, like we lost our backup point guard to Villanova, right? And I think that was before we went and got Aberdeen, if I remember correctly. But, but he was a true point guard and all that. So, and Aberdeen's more of a combo. So that plays into it too a little bit.
Do you have any buyer's, I don't want to say buyer's remorse, but you get what I'm saying? Like, knowing the value that Aberdeen does bring to the table, is there any scenario that in hindsight you look back and go that you would rather have a Caden on this roster? I personally wouldn't, because I, again, love Denzel and love what he brings to the table, even though this wasn't his best performance. There is an argument for having a true, kind of straw stir of a playmaker that a Caden was. And is.
I mean, I was devastated when we lost Caden. I think I looked at his stats the other day. I think he's averaging like 13 or 14 points for Villanova. I think he's getting like 5.5 assists, but he's the guy, he's starting, he's playing probably about 30 minutes a game, or at least upper 20s. I mean, here's the thing, like when we lost to Caden, we were also in on the Wilkerson sweepstakes. And what we kind of did was we were like, okay, at the time we were like, okay, we've got a Caden, we've got now Lowe, and then we're going to go after Wilkerson for kind of that to bolster that 2 spot. And then we lost Lowe, and then Wilkerson goes to Indiana, and we kind of filled both of those roles with Aberdeen, right? We were like, perfect, Aberdeen can do a little bit of both, right? He can be our backup point guard, and he can kind of fill in that shooting guard spot, playmaker, shot maker, whatever, in the 2 spots. It was kind of like we felt like we were getting a 2-for-1 deal. I love Aberdeen. I think Aberdeen's really good. He plays hard. Like, I'm really happy that Aberdeen's here. But yeah, it would have been good to kind of have one other piece that maybe could have also filled in as like a little bit more of a natural playmaker, like what a Caden could have done. And who knows, in the transfer portal era, maybe a Caden will find his way back to Lexington. Who knows? But yeah, that would have been nice in the absence of Lowe. Hindsight's 2020. It's hard for the staff to maybe have known the injuries were going to play out so far like what they have. But yeah, it definitely stings in the meantime.
From a shooting perspective, that's just something that fans are dying to know. Did Pope overvalue the shooters that he thought he had? Like, did he miss on thinking that the guys that he had on his roster were better shooters than they are? Is this like, do you expect them to kind of turn things around and this not to become the norm, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, I'm going to be an optimistic Kentucky fan. I'm going to say, yeah, I expect them to turn it around. Again, Cam Williams is a better shooter than what he's shown, right? Really hurts when Colin Chandler, our best shooter by far so far this year, doesn't really get a clean look from deep last night. Again, that's back into shot creation and the offense and stuff that we were running. He just wasn't. And credit to North Carolina, they did a great job, but like he wasn't able to get a clean look last night, which was the first. I think against Louisville, I think he was 4 of 6 from three. I think against Michigan State, he was 2 of 4. Right. So he's a combined, 2 for 10, or I'm sorry, 6 for 10 against our two high major competitions going into last night. And then last night, he just wasn't able to get the kind of looks that we would probably need Colin to get. Trent Noah. Trent's a guy that, like, I heard a lot of really good stuff about him in the summer. He was rebounding the ball really well. He wasn't making mistakes, not turning it over. You know, a lot of those things I think about him are still true. But Trent's a guy that when he's on the floor, like, we gotta get him looks. You know, we got to dial something up for him, like some elevator screens or something to get him a clean look. Like we got to dial up some stuff where he's gonna get something that we want. But we also need to make it an emphasis for our team, right? I think that I can't remember. It might have been Brandon Ramsey that tweeted this, right? So shout out to Brandon Ramsey. If you don't follow him, you should, because he's a really good basketball follow. I think he tweeted this, but somebody did, where they pointed out there were 2 or 3 possessions when Trent was on the court where if we had just given one more pass, it was to Trent for a wide open 3, right? But instead, I think Yelovich took one and somebody else took the other one, right? Like, there's got to be an emphasis and an urge on the court. Like, hey, if Trent's going to be out there, we got to get him looks from deep, okay? Because that's what he's out there for, to stretch the floor. That all goes back to the identity. Like last year when Kobe was on the court, we were hunting shots for him, right? When Jackson was on the court, even when oh man, his name's escaping me now. The backup 4-man.
Yelovich?
No, from last year. His name's escaping me.
Almanor?
Yeah, Ansley Almanor. I'm like, what's going on? It's late. Even Almanor, when Almanor was on the court, again, this all goes back to identity. Like when we talk about identity, it's like the whole team understanding, like, hey, when Almanor is on the court, like we got to, like, he's over there in the corner. He's a better shooter than I am. I'm gonna pass up this good shot for a great shot, you know? And I don't know how much our team is doing that right now. Again, that's identity. It's like Yelovich shooting up somewhat open 3 is maybe a good shot. Trent shooting a wide open 3 is a great shot. So we need to make that extra pass. Cam, you just got to make shots, right? Aberdeen shot it really well against Louisville, right? He made like 4 or 5 threes against Louisville. You know, he was getting to his spots and stuff like that. Like, I'd like to see a little bit more out of Aberdeen. Like, did he overvalue these shooters? I don't know, because I think that they are good shooters. Like, they're not shooting the way that I know that they're capable of shooting. But would it have been nice to get like a guy who's like, this dude is a shooter, like a Kobe Barea? And Kobe Bareas don't grow on trees, but you know, there's some in the portal where you're like, this dude is a sniper. Would it have been good to get one more of those? Wilkerson is a great example of, like, if we had gotten him, would some of these shooting woes be, you know? And I'm rambling to this point, but I also I compared this year to last year. All right. Through 8 games last year, we made 85 threes at about 40% from 3. We were 40.4% from 3 through 8 games, making 85. This year, we're 72 makes, so about 13 fewer makes, but only shooting 33% from 3. So we're making fewer of them, and we're doing it in a lot less efficient way. So that's like a pretty deadly combo. If we were making fewer of them, but our percentage was still high, okay, not bad. If we were making just as many and our percentage was lower, okay, like, I'll take that too. We're not doing either one right now. 13 fewer makes on about 7 or 8 percentage points worse shooting. We got to correct that. But so much of that is the flow and its identity, and it's passing up good shots for great shots, and it's playing for one another. And, you know, it's driving with purpose, not for a shot for yourself, but to find Trent or to find Cam, you know, and it's getting mad at Cam if Cam doesn't shoot it, right? It's like, man, I teed that up for you. You got to shoot that. Like, that all goes into the identity that we need to have. And again, maybe Jalen Lowe coming back will help with that.
That's my question. Is the simple answer to all of this injury? Hey, we didn't have Jalen Lowe. We don't have the playmaking and facilitating to let everything else fall into place. Like, is it as simple as that?
A little bit. I'm not going to blame last night's loss on injuries, right? Like, yeah, we're down 3 starters. I don't care. We're Kentucky. We should win this game, right? In my opinion. But yes, absolutely. Like, this team has an identity that was built all summer long around Jalen Lowe and all that type of stuff. And guys were used to catching passes and getting looks and stuff. Like, Jalen Lowe's really good at, like, Nash dribbling, which is like where you dribble underneath the basket. It's like a little mouse in the house thing. You know, where he's able to kind of beat his defender and get underneath the basket make the whole defense rotate, right, and kick it. He's really good at that type of stuff. Like, we don't have anybody that's doing that right now. So I do think a lot of it will be fixed, not immediately, not game one when Jalen Lowe comes back, but maybe 5 or 6 games that Jalen Lowe gets under his feet. Maybe we start to see the offense clicking a little bit more. But in the meantime, like I said in the summer and in the fall, I said this team was built, in my opinion, to win in a lot of different ways. Okay. I said that a couple different times. We're not doing that right now. I said that, hey, we're built to hopefully punish people on the glass, because we brought in Mo Diabate, and we've got a second-year junior Brandon Garrison, and we got a 7-footer who eats space in Malachi Moreno, and Ortega's always been a good rebounder, right? Like, we should be punishing people on the glass. We're not doing that, right? So it's also the other flip side is like, well, hey, if shots aren't going in, we got to win games other ways. We got to get really nasty on the glass. We've got to. I saw somebody put in the comments, like, why isn't Pope like pushing guys to run more and like get out in transition? We got to do that more. But you know what we got to do in order to get out and run? We've got to rebound the ball, right? We can't give up double-digit offensive rebounds to North Carolina. We got to secure the offensive rebound, and we got to kick it, and we got to go. So we, if shots aren't falling, we got to develop an identity somewhere else, and we got to win games some other way. And that's the other part that I think is missing right now.
Oh, yeah. We'll see. What we won't have to see is the help from our SeatGeek coming in clutch once again, because we do have the mood is down right now, but we do have a big test coming up on Friday down in Nashville. Using our friends at SeatGeek, you can go and see the Kentucky Wildcats take on the Gonzaga Bulldogs. It's going to be a must-see event, top 15 matchup down there at Bridgestone Arena. You do not want to miss that, and that's why I want to give our sponsor of today's show, SeatGeek, a huge shout-out with over 35 million downloads. SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Wildcat basketball is here. NFL is here. So many other things, concerts, shows, anything that you need to see. They have it there for you. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. So look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use code KSR10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code KSR10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. That is SeatGeek, promo code KSR10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. Gonzaga, how are you feeling?
I'm not feeling great, Jack. I mean, but who knows, right? Like, maybe Mo Diabate is ready to rock and roll by Friday night. I don't know. I mean, Pope said it's day to day with Jalen Lowe, right? So
forever.
Again, Jalen Lowe,
day to day, forever,
right? I mean,
for eternity.
He's not going to be his prime self in game one back, but he would help to have him back, right? I'm not going to speculate on when JQ is going to come back or anything, but obviously don't anticipate him, being ready to rock and roll by Friday. And, we've got Graham Ike and those guys that are just, grown men underneath the rim. And so I don't feel great, but, it's Nashville and that's our town, right? Like, we should have a really good home crowd. It's our town. We've had a lot of success in Nashville in the past. It'll be a fun Friday night game, and let's see. I think the team did learn some good things. Hopefully Yelovich is coming out of this game feeling a lot better about himself. Hopefully Ortega's feeling like he's a little bit more back to it. I think North Carolina was averaging like 84, 85 points a game going into the Kentucky game. We held them to 67. And for large stretches of that, I didn't even know if they were going to break 60. It wasn't until their little run at the end that they broke 60. So maybe we feel better about our defense. So while I don't feel great overall, I know that this team is talented enough that on any given night, things might start to click and shots will fall and all that type of stuff.
Looking at SeatGeek, $55 get-in price for that one. Pretty reasonable if you ask me. Lower level, I'm looking around. There's 162 in the end zone seats. Basically down on the floor, $379. 50 yard line. Look kind of see mid court, $258. So yeah, a lot of great value there down there. Shout out to our friends at SeatGeek. That's promo code KSR10 for 10% off. Does anything about it, just the hunger and the being humbled and having kind of their backs against the wall, like, hey, we've been embarrassed, we were hyped up, and it just feels like the tone has changed, Spencer, talking to the players after the game yesterday and talking to Pope, that it's like the devastation that we saw after Michigan State, like that. I mean, that was just a whoa. These guys are in hell right now at the podium. They hate everything. They are miserable. They're embarrassed. You could just kind of tell that one broke them. Talking to them afterward, it wasn't that they were happy but they were loose. It was very much like we kind of are who we are at this point. We're a project team that we might not be the superstar going to steamroll through the college basketball landscape all season long, but we can still be that team by year's end. It's just that the journey is going to look a little bit different. Does that kind of play into your confidence going into Friday night, that they have been embarrassed the way they have to start the year, that they say, hey, no, now is the time to put up or shut up?
There's always that edge, but who's also going to have that edge, Jack, is Gonzaga.
The rematch factor with Gonzaga, yeah.
Well, there's that, but there's also, it's been over a week now, so people might not remember, but the last time Gonzaga took the basketball court, they played Michigan and they lost by 40 on national TV, right? They lost 101-61 to a top 10 Michigan team. So you've got Gonzaga over there who's been stewing over that, which in what'll be 9 days by the time they take the court again. It's been, it'll have been 9 days since they took the court and they lost by 40. So I think that they're going to be coming out with a little bit of an edge too. Like, that's not who we are. So we need to prove them wrong, right? So I like that edge, but I also think that they're going to have it too, which is not great. But, you always think back to like the 2014 team, like the famous press conference that the Harrison twins gave. I think it was at South Carolina after we lost to a pretty bad South Carolina team on the road, right? And I think that was the moment where they were like, hey, this is not the end of our story. Like, we're going to fix this. And you know what? They did. This team is capable of that type of stuff. It just all needs to start to come together, and you need to start that journey at some point. And I hope it starts on Friday night.
You know who has been the sneaky MVP candidate for saying all of the right things and the unfiltered, like, hey, we don't want to, be politically correct about things. This is exactly what's on our mind, one way or the other. Andrei Yelovich. Yelovich, every single time he talks, he says something that it's like, hey, that's how I'm feeling right now as a fan. I want to hear that from you as a player. It's hey, no, yeah, we're depressed right now. Like, we're really, really sad. That locker room is down. Otega called it an eerie locker room, but Yelovich just kind of had this sucks. Like, we're really, really not in a good headspace right now. But guess what? It's our job to get this fixed. I hate disappointing this fan base. I hate, kind of just where we are as a team. And it's our responsibility to get this fixed for you as a fan. It was just like, thank you. That's exactly what I want to hear. So I just don't know if it's like, we talked about it the last time you were on too. I don't know if it's just the European thing for him, that he just it just comes naturally to him. But he's been a big breath of fresh air, even beyond what we're seeing from him on the floor right now.
Yeah, when I was in South Florida, we had two guys on our team at the same time. One was from Croatia, one was from Serbia, but they were kind of the same thing. They just didn't really have much of a filter. They just kind of said what they thought. Like, the whole idea of like coach speak or whatever was not in their vocabulary. They were just like, yeah, this sucks, or like, yeah, this is great, or hey, I think we're better than they are, so we should go out and win. Things that you're like, oh, okay, that's not our typical answer that we get, but okay, fair enough. I think he's got a little bit of that to him, and I respect that. Like, we got to be honest with ourselves on where we're at if we're going to fix it, right?
Yeah, he said, it's definitely, we're not going to lie. We're not worried, but we're just really sad. It's like, yeah, I am too, dude. I am very sad. And then he ended it by saying, it's like just very thoughtful and just thought-provoking. Said, in these tough times, we're forced to lean on each other, and I think we're going to be positive for this team because in these tough times, you can't be alone. We're going to lean into each other, players to players, players to coaches, coaches to coaches, and we're going to figure this out, and we're going to turn this thing around. So it did kind of have, it's not Aaron Harrison level going right into the postseason and all that, but it does kind of have that same, like, we got a story to tell, and we can't be the ones to kind of fix this. So yeah, I appreciate that from him.
I love that. And you know what? Like, I've been a part of teams that have won a lot of games, and one team that went to the Final Four and stuff. And, and I've been a part of teams that were not very good. And the worst season I was ever a part of, we won 7 games. Right. And I can tell you, like a day in the college basketball season feels like a week. 2 or 3 days feels like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, it feels like that, So when you're coming off of a loss and you've got to wait 2 or 3 days until the next game, like, those 2 or 3 days are just hell if you've lost. Like, especially if you've lost a game that you're like, we gave that away or we got embarrassed. it just feels awful. The whole vibe in the building is like just down. If you win that game, the whole vibe in the building is like everybody's dapping each other up and they're over the moon and everybody's like vibes are great, you know. But when you're feeling down like that, there's nothing more than everybody in that building wants than to just fix it. It's like, we got to get back in the win column so that we can get rid of this feeling. And that's what the team's felt. They felt it 3 times now. So I hope that it doesn't compound with the game against Gonzaga. We'll find out. But yeah, it's time. You know, hopefully our team is ready to go down there and fight, because that's going to be a brawl.
So you've been in locker rooms that have been ugly. You've been part of, you know, losing teams, winning at the highest level, but losing in ways that hurt and all that. Does this team has this team shown any sign of like red flags, like things that you've seen pop up in the past with teams that like, oh, these are glaring not character, but chemistry things, like, oh, these are the telltale signs that the locker room isn't where it needs to be, and those things don't get typically fixed. And 3 early losses in December or up to December mean that it's going to be a 12-13 loss team by the time we get to the end of the regular season. Have you seen anything to suggest any of that?
I really haven't, to be honest with you. Now, again, I'm not with these guys every day and all that kind of stuff, but I really haven't. Like, I'm seeing guys who are still cheering for each other on the bench. I'm seeing, like, when things aren't going right with bad teams, you'll see a lot of finger pointing, right? Somebody gives up an and one and you huddle up before the free throw and guys are in there like, what were you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you see a lot of that with bad teams. You see a lot of guys when they go over to the bench, like not giving high fives to one another. Like little things like that, but you're like, little things matter, you know, in times like that, when you're supposed to be like, the world feels really small when things aren't going well. There's 30 or 35 people in that program that are together, right? And when things aren't going well, the world feels really small. It feels like the whole world is against you, 30 or 35 people. And that's all the way down to the managers and the SID and everybody. And if you're not sticking together during those times, like, those little things matter. But I'm not seeing that from this team. I'm seeing guys pick each other up off the court. I'm seeing guys give high fives when they're leaving the court. I'm not seeing finger pointing. I'm seeing like, hey, pick your head up. You know, I'm seeing like Cam, who's maybe 0 of 3 from deep in that game, but he sees Colin hit one. He's up and doing the 3-point fingers and stuff. That's the stuff that you want to see, because if you stop seeing that stuff, then maybe that's a sign of a bigger problem. It's not to say that maybe there aren't bigger problems. I have no idea, but because, again, I'm not around these guys, but from what I see, I'm not seeing that, which gives me a little bit of hope. What I'd like to see a little bit more of, though, is a guy like Ortega being more vocal, right? Showing like that fire and passion that like we saw from like Andrew Carr last year. Remember when Andrew Carr makes big plays against Duke or whatever, and he's like, you know what I mean? Like, just that raw emotion. I'd like to maybe see a little bit more of that. Like, Aberdeen's an older guy, but he's not a guy to show a ton of emotion and stuff. Like, I'd love to see a little bit more of that, because that's something that maybe younger guys will rally around. But I personally, Jack, I don't see anything that's like a red flag for me at this point. It seems like the guys are sticking together and saying the right stuff.
Just looking over at our friends at BetMGM, championship odds definitely not favoring Kentucky. There's a lot of value there if you are interested in that sort of things. But Kentucky dropping to plus 2,800 in the overall championship odds, behind, you know, Michigan leading the way at plus 625. That's to be expected because Michigan is an absolute wagon right now. But we have Purdue at plus 700, Duke at plus 1,100, UConn plus 1,100, Houston 1,200. Arizona 1,200, and then Gonzaga right there at plus 1,400. Anything about those numbers jump out at you? And is the plus 2,800 number for Kentucky something that intrigues you?
It's good value. I wonder what we were at about right after that South Carolina loss in 2014. I bet you could have gotten great value on that, and we were maybe a Willie Cauley-Stein injury away from being able to pull that one off. I think. Yeah, that's not a great number for us, considering I think we were top 5 or 6.
We kind of hung even after the Louisville loss, and I don't think, but it was definitely after the Louisville loss, and when things were kind of, you know, really trending downward, they were still kind of hanging tight at that top 5. I do find it interesting that the analytics do still kind of believe in this team. The championship odds believed him in as well, but there really wasn't anything to suggest. Like last year, there were the glaring analytics that were like, hey, the numbers don't back up this team as a championship team, even though we're beating good teams. This one's kind of the opposite. We're not beating good teams, but the analytics still really like them.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think I saw we're 21st in KenPom offensively. I think we're 13th defensively. I think we're 15th overall. That's a really good number. That's a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, by the committee standards. So again, our defense has actually been fairly good this year, in my opinion. We've had lapses against Louisville and Michigan State where our effort wasn't there. But also some of them just made tough shots, but like defensively really encouraged last night. I'm shocked that our offense is 21st or whatever it is. Just personally, I'm surprised by that. But yeah, you're right. The analytics still like this team. I think we're still favored. Well, I don't know. The ESPN analytics as of yesterday had us still favored to beat Gonzaga. I don't know if that's still the case. To beat St. John's, to beat Indiana. So yeah, you're right. The analytics
Ken Palm has us losing to Gonzaga, but then winning the other 3.
So winning the other ones, yeah. So there you go. I mean, yeah, the analytics like us. That's always a good sign. It means that not all hope is lost or whatever. And hope isn't lost, guys. We're missing 3 stars. Again, I'm not trying to be a sunshine bumper. I'm not blaming the losses on injuries. I'm not. We have a lot that we need to fix, but we also have 3 guys that are out who are going to get back to it. And we got a long way to go. It's December 3rd. And we've had a lot of teams historically that were not great by December 3rd that ended up being great by February, March. So let's see where we're at.
Yeah, I like the optimism. Speaking of our friends at BetMGM, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3 and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code ON3. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. If your bet loses, just make sure you use bonus code ON3 when you sign up. Make this college basketball season one for the history books. Make it legendary. There we go. I'm producing on the fly right here. Steven's with us, but I started the show as producing, so I'm kind of adjusting on the fly here. So
no, you're doing a great job. I'll throw another number at you, Jack, just analytically. I forgot I wrote this down beforehand. Ken Palm also rates this really doesn't mean much, but I found it fascinating. Ken Palm also rates something called like the luck factor. Have you ever looked into that?
Yeah.
Any guesses on what Kentucky ranks in the luck factor?
Oh, probably very, very low, like maybe among the worst in college basketball right now.
You're correct, Jack. We rank 359th in the luck
Holy
factor.
crap, that makes so much sense. That is hilarious.
And so it's like guys who are making shots that they don't normally make, like all of that type of stuff goes into the luck factor. And we rank 359th in that. So is our team just really unlucky? Did somebody, cross a black cat or walk under a ladder? I don't know.
Well, that needs to account for like Jalen Lowe and the injury issues and all that stuff as well. I know it doesn't, but there's a lot to be said about this stupid, dumb luck with his buzzard luck, as one John Calipari would say. Speaking of which, have you been keeping an eye on that Louisville Arkansas score? Because it is not looking good for our friends down at the 502. Oh, they're cutting it a little bit. They cut it to 12, but it was 20 points at halftime.
I saw the 20. I saw the 20 score shortly before we joined, which was really surprising to me. But it's too bad for our friends down the road, right?
Who do you root for in that matchup? Because I don't feel like either of them totally favor us. I feel like it's kind of one of those you just root for both teams to be miserable.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm a little bit still partial to Cal, so I'll probably root for Arkansas on that one, and I'm a little bit impartial to Louisville in all instances, especially after what they did to us on the football field a couple days ago. So I'll root for Arkansas on that one, but I haven't been able to watch it or anything. I'll probably watch the replay tomorrow.
Looking at the scores, we got Alabama 61-58 with 10 minutes left against Clemson. But any other scores that kind of jumped out at you with this ACC SEC challenge?
Let's see. Out of the ones that I saw yesterday, really surprised that Tennessee dropped one to Syracuse.
Yeah,
I know it was in the
that was
road.
wild.
We played there. We played there in the Sweet 16 one of my years at Oklahoma. We played Michigan State there. That's a really weird building. It's my only time that I've ever been there was on that trip. Really, really weird building. Weird things happen there. In fact, actually, now that I think about it, a worse memory, that's where John Wall and them lost to West Virginia in that building. So weird things happen in that building, but I was really surprised by that one. Florida, I was surprised that they gave Duke as good of a game as they gave, and they honestly probably should have won it. Todd Golden called out the refs after the game, and I think rightfully so. There was some really questionable stuff down the stretch. It's Cameron Indoor after all. But really surprised that Florida gave them a game like that. And then obviously surprised that the Cats lost.
Yeah, very surprised and very, very defeated by that. But I have appreciated that this show. Look, I was very angry. I was angry. I was very emotional after the loss last night. And it's just funny. Like I'm like the eternal optimist, sunshine pumper constantly. Like I've been oh, you carry water for the program, and like I've been just like I've worn those badges proudly for years. And like the first sign of even slight negativity and criticism of like, hey, I'm worried. I have my concerns. And I don't know if this is going to get fixed the way that we kind of thought it was, and kind of expressing those gripes. And it's like, oh, you're a hater. You are just you're just a Debbie Downer. I'm like, it's kind of interesting being on this. I'm not used to it. So I'm appreciating you kind of talking me off the ledge a little bit tonight, and pointing me in the right direction on some reasons to be optimistic, and that this isn't just kind of a broken team, and the foundation isn't crumbling at the seams right now. So let's end the show. Nothing but positive. We are going to be nothing but positive for the next couple of minutes. Why is Kentucky going to go down to Nashville and beat Gonzaga?
Shots are going to fall, right? And that's Ortega always building. I think his name's plastered on the side of the building somewhere in the honor of the Oklahoma game last year. So he's going to channel Oklahoma, Ortega, and he's going to make something happen. Shots are going to fall. We haven't had success in that building recently, but we've had a lot of success down there. It's a Friday night. I'll tell you what, Gonzaga, 9 days off. I know they've been stewing over a 40-point loss, but that's a long time to be off. So getting back into game rhythm and stuff, maybe they're a little bit rusty as well. And I'm going to manifest that Mo Diabate and Jalen Lowe are both going to play. Do I actually think that's going to happen? Maybe not. But I'm going to manifest that in my mind and hope that they both are able to make an appearance.
What kind of difference in that specific matchup? What kind of difference do those two make?
Mo Diabate especially, because Gonzaga is so big and physical, and they just manhandle you on the glass. They've always been like that. That's just their identity. We played them my first year at OU, and we lost by 50 in this MTE event down in Orlando. And I just remember thinking like, oh my gosh, these are grown men, and Gonzaga's like that every single year. So getting Mo back for that would be massive. And Gonzaga is also a team that likes to run. So I would like to run with them. I'd like to see this team like let out the horses and stuff and like let's get up and down a little bit, because as you can see, we get really stagnant offensively, like in the half court. We've shown that this year. So like let's get up and down a little bit. Gonzaga will play that way with us if we can do it. So getting Jalen Lowe back would be massive, and just like that tempo and being able to really, really play at that level, that would be great, I think, for us. So they each bring a different thing to the table, but they both play really well to the style that Gonzaga plays.
Is there anything, we'll wrap up with this one. Is there anything besides just saying, yeah, win the games? Is there anything specifically that you could see over this month? I mean, it's a very crucial month with a big stretch of games coming out, a lot of space between the games. So it's going to be kind of an impatient month as we kind of go week by week here. But outside of just pure winning, is there anything that will make you confident going into conference play? Like, hey, we're right back to where we wanted to be. Like all the optimism that we lost is right back to kind of that post-Purdue feeling that we had.
Yeah. Oh, the post-Purdue feeling. How about that? That was nice. I need Jaden Quaintance to have 2 feet on the basketball court firmly, like sooner rather than later. That'll make me feel great. I need to be fully healthy. And I really just need to feel like this team is developing an identity. And I keep saying that over and over again, but that's just what's lacking. It's just like knowing who we are and how we play and what we look for. And like right now, it just feels like we're not quite there. Like the 2014 team, I'm sorry, I keep going back to them. They had no identity in mid-January, but then they really figured it out come like late February and March. And it can click just like that. It doesn't take long for an identity to really form. But we really need to take all of December. You get a lot of practice time in December, right? You get longer in between games. You get a lot of time to just be with yourselves and working on the stuff you need to work on. So we need to get healthy, and we need to really work on who we are, especially offensively.
Well, I love all of that. I believe I'm starting to get the good vibes back. It was an ugly night last night at Rupp Arena, and it might have just been how late it was. I just turned into a big old freaking grump. I didn't get home till 5 a.m. Woke up at 9:30. So I woke up as just like I'm running on 4 hours of sleep. I had got to go drive back to Lexington for the press conference for Will Stein today. Like going back tomorrow. I'm going to go see the volleyball game. Shout out those volleyball cats are going to go win the national championship. So just kind of this constant driving back and forth, Lexington to Shelbyville, and like for what we're losing all these stupid games. So it's like I just need some good vibes. We need to go down to Nashville. We need to go beat Gonzaga and just get right back to my sunshine pumping. I'm my best version is sunshine pumping Jack. So that's what's going to happen. We need to speak it into existence and have a good old time down in the Music City. So anything else you want to get off your chest before we wrap this thing up?
No, 100%. I'm fine. I'm not, I don't want to go all the way to sunshine pumping. That we have problems that we need to fix. I'm with you, Jack. Like I was mad last night, very mad. Anytime we lose in Rupp, I'm especially mad. Like we should not ever lose in that building. But I know that we can fix it, and I know that we're better than what we've been. And I have a lot of faith in this staff that they can figure out what's going to work and what's not with this team. So let's see where we're at in February and March. I'm not giving up on them. I'm going to ride with them all the way till the end of the year. And I know a lot of BBN will be with us, so let's see how it goes.
Well, let's do this thing. So for Jack, for Spencer, we got to get your followers up. Tell fans where to find your work. Yeah,
I've been memorizing this. I'm Spencer_Smith 10. I picked up a few followers since I started doing this show, so that's good. If you guys want to follow me, I'm trying to tweet more. I'm trying to get up.
You're doing great. I've really appreciated getting your real time thoughts. So you keep you got to live up to your end of the bargain, and fans are going to live up to theirs by following you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm going to do better. I'm trying to be better about it. So yeah, you guys can follow me there, and I'm going to try to tweet more and more as the year goes on.
Follow me at Jack Pilgrim KSR. Go to subscribe to KSR Plus. All the Cyber Monday deals. I think it's still ongoing right now as we speak. If not, there's another promo going on right now. So all the coaching carousel, all that stuff has been going crazy. So, man, there's never been a better time to join that community. Make sure you go do that. Make sure you like this video before you leave. Like this one right now, and make sure you're subscribed to KSR YouTube channel. That's how Stephen Peak keeps his job, and we need to keep his job because that's how we do this show, and we would be just an absolute disaster. That's why producing on the fly has been horrible tonight. So we need you, Steven. So make sure you keep his job. So for Jack, for Spencer, and for Steven behind the camera, appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time.